My name is Amanda, I'm 34, and I never expected that Friday to be any different from other days. Just another day of running my company, making decisions, and going home to my empty but peaceful apartment. Growing up, I was always the invisible child. My parents made it clear that my sister Olivia, 8 years younger than me, was their favorite. When I left for college, our already strained relationship practically dissolved. They focused exclusively on Olivia, while I built my life and career independently. It's been years since I've been to my parents' house. The last significant event we shared was my wedding several years ago. They showed up briefly with Olivia, criticized my unsophisticated dress, made a few obligatory toasts, and left. When I got divorced 2 years ago at 32, they called only to express their disappointment in me. That pretty much sums up our relationship, distant and cold. That Friday started like any other. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone rang. I usually ignore personal calls during work hours, but seeing my sister's name on the screen made me curious. We hadn't spoken in months. "Hello, Olivia," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. "Amanda," she said, her voice dripping with the superiority I'd grown accustomed to. "I'm having a party this Friday at Mom and Dad's. I got promoted at work." "Congratulations," I said sincerely. Despite our issues, I didn't wish her ill. "Yeah, so anyway," she continued dismissively, "I'm inviting you. You can come if you want, if you're not bothered by the fact that your little sister is more successful than you." I almost snorted at the irony but managed to keep my composure. If only she knew that I ran a multi-million-dollar company with over 100 employees. "I'll definitely come," I replied calmly. "Really?" She sounded surprised. "Well, it starts at 7, don't be late." After hanging up, I couldn't help but laugh. The audacity of my sister never ceased to amaze me. Around 4 that afternoon, I decided to call it a day. "James," I called to my assistant as he passed my office door. "I'm heading out early today. My sister's having some kind of promotion party." James smiled, "That works out well. I'm leaving early too, my fiance is having a party tonight." At home, I took my time getting ready. I chose a simple but elegant black dress, nothing flashy, but definitely expensive to the trained eye. My apartment reflected my success, spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture, and original artwork. None of which my family had ever seen. Driving to my parents' suburban home felt like traveling back in time. The house looked smaller than I remembered, but otherwise unchanged. I parked behind a row of cars and took a deep breath before walking to the door. My mother opened it, her expression barely changing at the sight of me. "Amanda, you came." "I said I would," I replied. She looked me up and down. "Try to be happy for your sister tonight, okay? Don't spoil this by being envious. Olivia's celebrating a promotion, she has a fiance, and well, you know your situation." I bit my tongue to stop myself from laughing. "I'll behave, Mom. I promise not to envy her too much." My father gave me an equally lukewarm greeting, merely nodding in my direction before returning to his conversation with relatives I barely recognized. The house was filled with family, friends, and relatives, all chatting excitedly. I grabbed a glass of wine and found a quiet corner to observe. Most of these people hadn't seen me in years, and few made an effort to speak with me. The crowd suddenly hushed as Olivia made her grand entrance, descending the stairs in a sparkly gold dress that caught every light in the room. She beamed as everyone applauded. "Thank you all for coming," she announced, her voice carrying across the room. "I'm so thrilled to share this special moment with you. After all my hard work, I've finally been promoted to senior account manager." My parents were practically glowing with pride as Olivia worked the room, telling anyone who would listen about her accomplishments. "The company director even has coffee with me several times a month," I overheard her telling our aunt. "He says I'm on the fast track to executive level." I maintained a polite smile, sipping my wine slowly. Eventually, Olivia made her way to me, her smile turning slightly predatory. "I honestly didn't think you'd come," she said, looking me up and down. "I invited you to be polite, not to show off what a successful person can achieve. She gestured to herself with a flourish. I raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Emboldened by my silence, she raised her voice. You know what, Amanda? Maybe it's better if you just leave. I want to be surrounded by successful people tonight, not losers like you. The room fell silent, all eyes turned toward us. From the corner of my eye, I saw my parents smirking, apparently amused by Olivia's cruelty. Instead of being embarrassed, I smiled calmly. I think I'll stay a little longer. Don't worry, my failure isn't contagious, you and your successful friends are safe. Olivia's face flushed with anger, but before she could respond, the front door opened. A familiar figure stepped in, and Olivia's expression instantly transformed. She rushed over, threw her arms around him, and kissed him. Everyone, she announced, this is my fiancé, James. I froze, my glass halfway to my lips, my assistant James. Suddenly, his comment about his fiancé's party made perfect sense. Olivia dragged James through the crowd, clearly eager to show him off. You have to meet my sister, she said loudly, pulling him toward me. When James saw me, his eyes widened in shock. Hi, boss, he said automatically. Hello, James, I replied warmly. There was a moment of complete silence as everyone processed what had just happened. Boss? Olivia's voice had risen an octave. What do you mean, boss? James looked confused. Your sister is the CEO of Reynolds Marketing. I'm her executive assistant. The silence in the room deepened. My parents stood frozen, mouths slightly open. Olivia's face went through a remarkable transformation, first blushing, then turning pale, then flushing red again. I finished my wine and set the glass down carefully. Thank you for the invitation, Olivia, I should go now. I wouldn't want to spoil your party with my unsuccessful presence. My parents suddenly found their voices. Amanda, wait, you misunderstood, my father started. But I was already walking toward the door, smiling to myself as the whispers erupted behind me. Back in my apartment, I kicked off my heels and laughed until my sides hurt. The look on Olivia's face when James called me boss was priceless. I made myself a mug of hot chocolate, turned off my phone, and settled into bed with a book, still chuckling about the evening's events. When I woke up the next morning and turned my phone back on, it immediately buzzed with notifications. 15 missed calls from my parents. 23 from Olivia. A dozen text messages, all variations of call me immediately and we need to talk. I ignored them all and went about my Saturday as planned, yoga class, grocery shopping, and catching up on industry reports. I wasn't avoiding them exactly, but I wasn't in a rush to hear their sudden change of heart now that they knew I was successful. Around noon on Sunday, my phone rang again, Olivia. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello? I answered. Amanda, Olivia said, her voice unnaturally polite, can we meet? I'd like to talk to you. I raised an eyebrow at her tone, sure. Coffee shop near my place in an hour? Perfect, she agreed quickly, text me the address. The coffee shop was quiet for a Sunday afternoon. I arrived early, ordered a latte, and watched Olivia enter 15 minutes later. She looked around nervously before spotting me. Gone was the sparkly dress and arrogance, replaced by jeans and an almost timid demeanor. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I wanted to apologize for what I said at the party. It was rude and, well, I didn't know about your job. The apology sounded rehearsed, her eyes not quite meeting mine. I could tell she wasn't sorry for what she said, she was sorry she'd been wrong about me. What do you really want? I asked directly. Olivia dropped the act immediately, fine. Now that I know you're loaded, I want you to help pay for my wedding. It's going to be expensive, and James's salary. She trailed off with a dismissive wave. I nearly choked on my coffee. You're joking, right? Why would I joke? You're my sister, and you're rich, family helps family. Family? I repeated incredulously. For years, you and our parents have barely acknowledged my existence. Now that you know I'm successful, suddenly you want my help? No, Olivia, I will not be paying for your wedding. Her face hardened. Then don't expect an invitation. I couldn't help but laugh. Somehow, I'll survive the disappointment. She stood up so quickly her chair scraped loudly against the floor. You're selfish, Amanda, you always have been. Goodbye, Olivia, I said calmly as she stormed out. I wasn't surprised when, 30 minutes later, a text from my mother appeared. Amanda, you're being selfish. Your sister deserves a beautiful wedding. Why can't you help her? We're your family. I put my phone away without responding. If anything, this confirmed what I already knew. They weren't interested in reconnecting with me. They were interested in my money. Monday morning, I arrived at work earlier than usual, hoping to get a head start on the week. James was already there, looking uncomfortable. Amanda, he began as soon as I walked in, I'm so sorry about Friday night. I had no idea Olivia was your sister until I saw you there. I waved away his apology. You have nothing to be sorry for, James. Let's just start the day, shall we? Your relationship with my sister has nothing to do with our professional one. We fell back into our usual routine, reviewing the week's schedule and prioritizing tasks. I was grateful for James's professionalism. He was an excellent assistant, regardless of his poor taste in fiancés. A few uneventful days passed. I thought perhaps my sister had gotten the message, but I should have known better. Thursday afternoon, while I was in the middle of a conference call, the receptionist buzzed me. Ms. Reynolds, there's an Olivia Carter here insisting on seeing you. She says she's your sister. I sighed. Tell her I'm in a meeting. I did. She says she'll wait. After finishing my call, I stepped out to find Olivia lounging in the reception area, examining her nails. She jumped up when she saw me. Finally, your receptionist wouldn't let me through, she complained. Because I was in a meeting. What are you doing here, Olivia? She shrugged. I came to see James. I missed him. The smile she gave me was clearly fake. Can we talk in your office? Against my better judgment, I led her to my office. As soon as the door closed, her demeanor changed completely. 120,000, she said without preamble. Excuse me? That's all I need for the wedding. It's not even that much for someone like you. I stared at her, astounded by her audacity. The answer is still no, Olivia. Why are you being so difficult? Her voice rose. You have the money, you're just being selfish and greedy. I think you should leave, I said firmly. Not until you agree to help me, she shouted, her face reddening. What kind of sister are you? The door opened, and James stood there, his expression mortified. Olivia, what are you doing? Olivia spun around to face James, her expression quickly shifting from anger to something resembling sweetness. James, I was just talking to my sister about our wedding. Tell Amanda to help us with the ceremony. I remained silent, letting James handle the situation. Olivia, he said gently, we've talked about this. We can afford a modest wedding ourselves. Her face contorted with fury. Modest? I don't want modest. I want what I deserve, a spectacular wedding that everyone will talk about for years. Why should we settle when my sister is sitting on piles of money? That's enough, James said firmly, taking her arm. We should go. No, she yanked her arm away. Not until she agrees. She turned back to me. You owe me this, Amanda. After all those years of being the perfect daughter while you ran off to college. Perfect daughter? I couldn't help but laugh. Is that what you think happened? I left for college because our parents made it clear I wasn't the favorite. You were always going to be their precious baby, no matter what. That's not true, Olivia shouted. You were always jealous of me. James took a more forceful approach now, practically steering Olivia toward the door. We're leaving, now. She resisted but was no match for James's determined grip. As he escorted her out, I could hear her voice echoing down the hallway, still making demands and threats. I sat back in my chair, massaging my temples. A few minutes later, James returned, his face flushed with embarrassment. I am so sorry about that, he said. I had no idea she would behave this way. It's not your fault, I assured him. I don't understand it, he continued, she's not usually like this. I raised an eyebrow but said nothing. In my experience, Olivia had always been exactly like this. I'll talk to her, James promised, make her understand that this behavior is unacceptable. I think it's best if she doesn't come to the office again, I said carefully. I'll have security add her to the restricted list. James nodded resignedly, I understand, I'm sorry it's come to this. The next day, the barrage began, text messages from Olivia calling me selfish, heartless, and greedy. Voicemails from my mother demanding to know why I was tormenting my sister. Even my father called, his message gruff and uncomfortable, saying I should do the right thing for family. I ignored them all. 34 years of experience had taught me that engaging only made things worse. By Sunday, I'd blocked all their numbers, removed them from my social media accounts, and instructed my email server to filter their messages directly to trash. For a few days, things were quiet. I focused on work, had dinner with friends, and even went on a date that, while pleasant, didn't lead to anything. I was beginning to think the storm had passed. Then Tuesday morning, as I pulled into my reserved parking space at work, Olivia darted out from between cars. You think you can just block me and I'll go away, she shouted as I stepped out of my car. You're not getting rid of me that easily. I looked around, noticing several employees watching the scene unfold. Olivia, this is not the place. Oh, I think it's exactly the place, her voice echoed across the parking garage. Everyone should know what kind of person you really are. You're in love with my fiance, aren't you? That's why you won't help with the wedding. You're trying to sabotage my relationship. I was so stunned by the accusation that I couldn't immediately respond. In the silence, Olivia seemed to grow more confident. I've seen how you look at him. You're just jealous because I have someone and you're alone. You want him for yourself. Ms. Reynolds, is everything all right? Two security guards approached cautiously. No, everything is not all right, Olivia answered before I could. This woman is trying to steal my fiancé. Please escort my sister off the property, I said to the guards, finding my voice at last. She's not authorized to be here. You can't do this, Olivia screamed as the guards gently but firmly guided her toward the exit. You can't just throw me out. I'm family. I walked into the building, aware of the whispers and stares. By the time I reached my office, James was already waiting, his face ashen. I just heard what happened, he said. Amanda, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I replied, setting down my bag. But you do need to figure out this situation with Olivia. I can't have her showing up at my workplace making scenes. I know, he ran a hand through his hair, she's been different lately. Ever since she found out about your position. It's like she's obsessed with your money. And accusing me of being in love with you? Where did that come from? James looked genuinely confused. I have no idea. I've never given her any reason to think there's anything but a professional relationship between us. Well, handle it, I said firmly. I don't want to have to get a restraining order against my own sister. He nodded and left, looking troubled. I spent the morning trying to focus on work, but my mind kept returning to Olivia's bizarre accusation. Was she just trying to hurt me, or did she genuinely believe I had designs on James? The thought was so absurd I would have laughed if the situation wasn't so serious. That evening, I took additional precautions. I blocked my family's numbers on my home phone, added extra security measures to my apartment building, and even changed my routine for a few days, just in case Olivia decided to ambush me again. A week passed with no incidents, then two. By the third week, I was beginning to relax, thinking perhaps James had gotten through to Olivia after all. 1 month after the parking lot incident, James knocked on my office door just as I was wrapping up for the day. Got a minute? He asked, his expression serious but calmer than it had been in weeks. I wanted to let you know that I broke up with Olivia. I tried to hide my surprise. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be, he shook his head, I should have done it sooner. After that scene she made here, things just got worse. She demanded I quit my job because she didn't want me working with you. She kept accusing me of having an affair with you. When I refused to quit, she started checking my phone, showing up at my apartment unannounced. He trailed off, looking exhausted. I nodded, unsure what to say. James was a good guy who'd gotten caught in the crossfire of a dysfunctional family situation. Anyway, he continued, I just wanted you to know. I hope this means the disruptions to the office are over. I hope so too, I said sincerely, and James? Take some time if you need it. You've been through a lot. He gave me a small smile, thanks, but I'd rather stay busy. Work is a good distraction right now. Life settled back into a comfortable rhythm after that. Without the constant threat of Olivia appearing or my phone buzzing with angry messages, I found myself more relaxed than I'd been in months. I briefly wondered if my parents would reach out, perhaps to apologize or at least acknowledge the situation, but they remained silent. It confirmed what I'd always suspected, their interest in reconnecting was solely based on what they thought they could get from me. With Olivia no longer engaged to my assistant and the prospect of a lavish wedding fading, they had no use for me. Strangely, I felt more at peace with that knowledge than I ever had before. For years, I'd carried a quiet hope that someday they might see me, really see me, and regret the relationship we'd never had. Now I accepted that it would never happen, and that acceptance was freeing. Spring turned to summer, and work kept me busy with new clients and expanding projects. James continued to be an exceptional assistant, never bringing up personal matters during work hours. Occasionally we'd grab lunch together, and he seemed to be healing from the breakup, focusing on his career and reconnecting with friends. One Wednesday in late July, James came into my office with his usual stack of mail and messages, but he was practically bouncing with excitement. Everything okay? I asked, amused by his barely contained energy. Actually, I wanted to ask you something personal, he said. I've been seeing someone for a few months now. Her name is Claire, she's an architect, and well, we're getting married. James, that's wonderful news, I said, genuinely happy for him, congratulations. He beamed, thank you, we're having a small ceremony next month. Just close friends and family. I'd really like it if you could come. Me? The invitation caught me off guard. Of course you've been more than just a boss to me, especially through everything that happened with. He paused, well, you know. You've been a friend, and it would mean a lot to have you there. I was touched by his words, I'd be honored, James, thank you. He looked relieved, great, I'll send you the details. It's nothing fancy, just a small garden ceremony at Claire's parents' place, then dinner afterward. It sounds perfect, I said sincerely. After James left, I sat thinking about how strange life could be. A year ago, I'd been perfectly content with my solitary existence, keeping my family at arm's length and focusing solely on my career. Now, I was being invited to my assistant's wedding, an assistant who had nearly become my brother-in-law. The day of James's wedding arrived, warm and clear. The ceremony was exactly as he'd described, simple, intimate, in a beautifully landscaped garden behind a charming craftsman home. Claire was lovely, radiating happiness as she and James exchanged vows under an arch of summer flowers. During the reception, I sat with a small group of James's colleagues, enjoying the relaxed atmosphere and excellent food. As I watched James and Claire laughing together, surrounded by people who genuinely cared for them, I felt a pang of something, not quite envy, but awareness of what was missing in my own life. My career had always been my priority, especially after my divorce. I'd convinced myself that professional success was enough, that I didn't need deep personal connections. But seeing the joy on James's face made me wonder if I'd been wrong. Amanda? I turned to see James approaching, his new wife beside him. I'm so glad you could make it, he said. I wanted to properly introduce you to Claire. Claire smiled warmly. James has told me so much about you. Thank you for coming today. I wouldn't have missed it, I replied honestly. It was a beautiful ceremony. As they moved on to greet other guests, I found myself smiling. Maybe it was the romantic setting or the champagne, but I felt a renewed sense of possibility. My family situation might be a mess, but that didn't mean the rest of my life had to be. I stayed until the last guests were leaving, congratulated James and Claire one final time, and drove home under a sky full of stars. My apartment felt quiet but not lonely when I returned. I kicked off my heels, made a cup of tea, and stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. I felt a surprising sense of contentment. My parents might never appreciate me for who I was. My sister might never see beyond her jealousy and entitlement. But I had built a good life for myself, a successful career, and now, perhaps, new friendships forming. Sometimes family isn't who you're born to, but who you choose to let into your life. At 34, I was finally learning that lesson, and it felt like a new beginning.